of our 3-pack. And so, for me, it's all about having real estate conversations with people, and the numbers don't lie. If you go out, and we've talked about it so many times on the webinar, if you go out and have X amount of real estate conversations per day, per week, per year, it'll equate to X amount of closings. And so the biggest question is if we're going to go out and have real estate conversations with people, what is on people's minds? So I want to talk about 3 things that I think are on people's minds right now for 2022 when it comes down to real estate. And not everybody, but the majority of people that I'm talking with when I'm having real estate conversations right now, last year the conversation was COVID, is the market crashing, multiple offers and appraisal waivers. Now everybody is talking about interest rates. Everybody's asking me, are interest rates going to go up? And so when we're having real estate conversations with people, we've got to understand this is what they want to talk about. So you need to be able to have those conversations because, again, people are concerned that rates are going up. Matt, I'm sure you would agree with me. Most experts believe they will. So the question is, and I'd love to get your insight for how you talk to your clients, but how are rising interest rates going to affect our buyers, and what are those contributing factors?
Well, first, I think it makes sense and I covered this last week on a separate group, but one of the things that makes the big difference is there is no statistical correlation, a big word, between interest rates and home sales. Meaning, so like ironically, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, NAR, MBA all come out with their projections for 2022. And it's interesting is that the MBA, Mortgage Bankers Association, had the highest rate projection, like, hey, I think rates are going to be above 4%. But they also had the highest sales projection. They actually had a higher sales projection than over NAR. And so what I extrapolate from that is that, listen, rates, albeit a conversation topic, does not drive human buying or selling, right? It may help, may add to the fire, and may take away from the fire, but it's not the overarching determining factor. So I think that's first and foremost. And if you check back to like history, you can check back to like, listen, 6 and 7 rates were at the highest they've been in 15 years. That was our highest sales year ever, right? Was in 2006. So if you go back to like historical data, you can say, listen, rates were higher than they ever were. In 2006, we had the most sales ever, and you can pull up Cromford or some of those reports and show that data. So I would sort of always point to somebody else and not be like, this is my opinion, but hey, this is Mike Orr, a Cromford guy, he knows this, or this is Todd Menard, look at his numbers. Like, these are really smart people that can project this stuff. So that's sort of where I go with it. But listen, yeah, you need to be prepared. And when people talk about rising interest rates, I just point to inflation. Are you paying more at the pump? Are you paying more for your toothpaste? Are you paying more for toilet paper? Yes, 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 yes. Well, I mean, interest rates aren't immune to that. So you're going to be prepared to pay more for everything. It's a rising inflationary environment. You're going to pay more for everything, and rates are no different.
Okay, and then the other thing, and I don't know whether there's some quick examples of quick math. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but today if I get an interest rate at 3.5, and I can qualify for a $500,000 house, I wait till October, interest rates are at 4%. That $500,000 house now becomes what, and my payment becomes how much more? That type of stuff too. How do we explain that to buyers?
Good thing I'm a very, very good mortgage loan originator, and I have this like calculator, so I can tell you really quickly. So a $500,000 loan at 3.5% principal and interest is $22.45, and at 4%, it's $23.87. So 23.87 minus what I say, 22.45. So you're talking about $140 difference per month for 0.5% on a $500,000 house. So you're like, okay, don't go out to eat once a month and you can afford the higher payment. So I mean, it's not the end of the world. And when you think about it, yes, it's great if you can get a rate super low and save a bunch of money. But more than likely right now, I'm talking to people that have gotten just unprecedented amount of equity, and they're like, how do I take this off and use it, because I can't use anything with it? Like, over the last year they gained 150,000. I feel like a broken record or a commercial on TV. 100,000 more, 500,000 more. There's so much money equity in people's houses that you can use it. And I feel like that's what people are like, hey, I'll pay $200-300 more a month if I'm going to get $70,000-80,000 out of my house.
Yeah, so Todd, I'd love to bring you into the conversation. I know for a lot of people, high interest rates is bad news, but it's we just got to be able to use this stuff to motivate our buyers. How would you respond to what are you saying to people who are concerned about interest rates going up?
Well, I think first of all, interest rates are so low, and the younger generation probably doesn't know that, obviously, unless there's some historical, History Channel thing on interest rates being in the teens at one particular point. But, the thing here really is, first of all, I want to remind everybody that you're not paying your mortgage off, your tenants are, your renters are. And if you're an Airbnb, there was a recent study that just recently came out. The Airbnb people are making bank, obviously, significantly above, most normal ROIs. And so, this is really just an additional cost of sale for them. The concept of still being able to put 10% down, that's like a non-owner occupant 10% down loan. Where's that right now? So this is still really a super huge opportunity for investors to get involved in. The other aspect of that is going to be that the change difference. Matt mentioned what, Matt, $130, $140 a month. In payment between the two, that's less than a one-night rental income for your Airbnb. So again, I don't think this is going to be a real big issue. However, a realtor could turn this and use this as a reason. Mike, you and I have been talking about this for decades, for picking up the phone and calling their clients.
Yeah,
did you know? If you are thinking about investing, now's the time for you to really get into this, because your value proposition is going to change over the next 4 months.
Okay, yeah, and and we're kind of and great stuff, and we're kind of now transitioning into just normal conversations and normal scenarios for people, because we do need to go out and have real estate conversations. The other thing I think, Todd, that's on people's minds right now is they saw what happened in 2020. Did I miss out? I stayed on the fence. I didn't get in the game because I thought the market was going to crash. And then in the back of their mind, they're still wondering, is it? But and I think you're the best person to answer this, because you do the numbers every single week. Is people are concerned, did I miss out on the appreciation? Is the market tapped out? I'm concerned that if I buy a home, I'm not going to make any money on it.
Yeah, great question, Mike. And that is on everybody's mind. It has been all last year as well. We're not going to see, and again, when I speak, I'm not speaking about Todd Menard's opinion. I'm basically collecting information from people of the like of Lawrence Yun from, NAR chief economist, Ted Jones, chief economist for Stewart Title, Michael Orrs of the world from Cromford, but he's also the lead director of education over at the WP Carey ASU, whether it's U of A, Eller School of Business. So the aggregate from all those people is this. We are not going to see double-digit growths like we did this year in appreciation on properties. We ended the year, and I don't want to go too deep into this, because in about a week or two, when Clint and I are together and doing the state of the company kind of concept, presentation, we're going to go over all the 1920, there we go, 2020 number, 2020, 2021, and how that's affecting 2022. But just to the point, Mike, the job growth is still really strong in Arizona. The GDP of Arizona, the gross domestic product, the total of all the monies that are brought into the state of Arizona are about 3.5%. That's about a point higher than national statistics. So we have income, we have jobs, we have population increase. The difference between the markets is there's going to be fewer people in the market, at one time, so to speak. There's going to be less. We won't be at 18%, probably more. They're saying single digits, so maybe an 8-9% increase in pricing. And remember, when MLS changed, we did not change the average price of the average home. What the MLS, whether you're looking at the medium number or the average number, when you're looking at the increases in the sales price, that's not appreciation. That's just taking a data set of the properties that have sold and dividing them, into the volume. So the volume divided by units equals average sale price, or median price if you're using the median number. So, no, Mike, there's not going to be a big change next year. There's still going to be opportunities for income. Yeah, you did miss the bump factor. You did miss the April through September boom pricing that we saw. That's going to settle down a little bit, but prices are not going to be reduced. This is the big thing, so Chicken Little, sky falling. We are not going to see, the prices of homes drop. You'll see that there just won't be that many properties purchased in excess of fair market value.
All right, and the last point is, I think what people are talking about is inflation. Matt brought it up earlier. How is inflation going to impact my real estate plans? I am by no means an economist, nor would I ever play one on TV. However, though, I think as real estate professionals, we need to understand what's going on with inflation. We need to understand it's on people's minds and how to have intelligent conversations. I think they're worried. Is inflation, is that going to impact the slowdown of appreciation? If I'm in the market, is it going to lessen the amount of offers and competition that I come up against? If I'm selling, am I going to have less offers to sift through? How much less of a home will I qualify for? And that kind of goes back up to interest rates going up. But for me, Todd, it's really just focusing on the positives of the buyers. Higher interest rates and inflation, for me, is going to help the serious buyers because I think there is going to be less competition out there. There's a little angst out there. I think there are people out there that are hesitating because they don't understand inflation. They don't understand what the increasing interest rates mean. So when there's less competition out there, yeah, you're going to pay a little bit more. Your payment's going to be a little bit higher. But when you take a look at the long term on the appreciation growth, for me, while people are concerned, I think less people are going to be in the market. I think Q1 is a great opportunity for buyers and investors.
Yeah, it is a big, going back to the original question, the inflation is a big number, but I will tell you this: since Kennedy was the first generation, the first presidency generation, if you want to call it that, first where they manipulated what that number is, inflation number. They took out goods and services way back then. Then they turned around, and I think it was in the 80s, they took out, or maybe late 80s, they took out gasoline, fuel. So they're constantly manipulating that to keep it into that 3 to 5 range. But the reality is, let's face it, inflation's much higher than that as a true number. Everything's going up. We just went through what was called an economic reset, which was where the commodities that, Mike, you and I talked about this, tried to let agents see this 4 years ago. It didn't happen until just this year, just past market. And so, the cost of everything, builders saw it with builders, the cost of cement and lumber and all these things. Sure, there was a jump price, but wherever it settles, that's your new number. So the cost of bread, if you remember, you talked to your grandparents, used to be 5 cents a loaf. Now it's $5 a loaf. The payment for your employment used to be $40 a week. Now it's $600,
yeah.
$400, $600, $800 a week. So everything has gone up tenfold since the 50s and 40s. And so it's common that everything does it. So there's a reset. The problem with all resets is that we just handled the low minimum wage, the small minimum wage issue. The minimum wage obviously needed to be increased because of the fact that it was the only thing that didn't increase over this inflationary period as quickly as everything else did. And so gas, I don't have a crystal ball either, Mike. So, I don't know what's going to happen with fuel costs and everything. And because it's being overly manipulated, it's not really a true market. So it's really whatever the government wants it to be, whatever the key players make it. And so it's going to be very, very difficult. So we're in that price range. That's just what's changing in front of us. You know, I mean, when you bought a Ford Maverick for $3,000, did you ever think, or a Pinto, or better yet, a Ford Escort? When you bought a Ford Escort for $8,000 when it first came out, did you ever think that that same car today would be $45,000? No, nobody did. But it's all about 10% higher. So
I'll add, let me add one quick thing, kind of going back to the inflation comment. The best way to curb inflation from a housing perspective is get a long-term 30-year mortgage. Mm-hmm. So when you have somebody who's nervous, who's renting, and I'll tell you, I talk to buyers all day who's like, yeah, my rent's about to go up. My lease is coming up. They're going to raise it $200, $300, $400 a month. The best way is go get a 30-year fixed mortgage. And it's relative. Inflation is relative. If your rent's going up and the interest rates are going up, but you can fix it for 30 years forever, I mean, that's basically what you're doing. You know, that's the line you need for somebody who's nervous, on the fence about inflation as well. If they're renting, it's an easy segue conversation.
A tenant, Mike, a tenant is paying mortgage.
We're gonna move on. Appreciate it, guys. It's really good stuff. And just going back to my earlier point, if you go out and you meet 5 people today and you have these types of conversations, and you have these types of conversations with people on a daily basis, your business will grow. Matt, appreciate it. Todd, thanks so much. And with that being said, we're gonna